Hi, and welcome to the End Times Guy podcast. My name is Lee. It's great to have you along with me. Welcome to the End Times, folks. Everything is lining up, all the prophecies that are being fulfilled in our time. It's absolutely stunning. My goodness. I was listening to a podcast by a fellow named Billy Crone. I found it on Comcast. The podcast is called Don't Let Them Burn. I really encourage you to check that out. It's very well done. There's some really good insight and good things shared there. They kind of made me think yesterday in terms of access to the internet. We've all had free access, and we've all grown to some degree dependent on the internet for our banking. We do a lot of shopping, interacting. Some people actually work on the internet all day long or run their own private businesses based on the internet. We all have, the roots are growing deeper and deeper with our dependency on the internet. And there will come a point, through cyber warfare and hackers and all the rest of this, where newer levels of security are going to be required, and we're going to need an ID to access the internet. And what are you willing to do to maintain your privileges on the internet? I want you to realize something. You don't need the internet. God never designed it. God gave us everything we need for life, and the internet was not one of those things. And after listening to that and how it could become the precursor to the mark of the beast, it's very likely that without the mark of the beast, not only will we not be able to buy and sell, that will be our all in all, our ID, everything, our access to our finances, our ability to drive, our ability to go online, it's all going to be tied together technologically, which makes sense. It's all logical. But at what point do you step back and say, no, thank you? I honestly believe right now is the time where you need to start scaling back on your dependency on all the things that Western society has. Now, I want you to consider this. For a very long time in the Western world, Christians have had freedom and liberty, the ability to interact, to send our children to public schools and all the rest. It's May 1st today and it's snowing in Edmonton. I woke up to a couple of inches or more on my truck, and I'm heading west through more snow. Unbelievable. It's not global warming, I'll tell you that much. But the Western world used to be a place where Christians literally integrated with the society. And it's not working anymore. We are not them, and they certainly are not us. Excuse me. So we really have to start right now, today, scaling back on our involvement in Western society. Now, a Christian man should be very different from a Western man. Let me explain that. God made men physically strong, and a good man for many years was defined as being courageous, steadfast, moral, having integrity, and caring for those who are weaker, defending those who needed defending. That's what a good man was. When I was a kid, that's not that long ago. Okay, for some of you, that was like dinosaur times, but for me, it wasn't that long ago at all. And that was the measure of a good man. And if you were a hard worker, you paid your bills, you looked out for people, you were honest in your dealings, your word was your bond, you were a good man. In the Western world, a man, I don't know what it is anymore. Skinny jeans and sweaters and doing their nails and plucking their eyebrows and teasing their hair. They're effeminate. They're more interested. They're very feminized. Did you know the testosterone levels of Western males have reduced by something like 15 or 20% below that of Middle Eastern men? That's significant, folks. That's the male hormone. And with the feminization of Western men, they're losing their manhood. Now, a woman is drawn to self-confidence. A confident man. They want a strong man. And that used to be measured, a man was confident in his work ethic, his honesty, his integrity, his word. And now men are drawing their confidence from what they see in the mirror. And that's why there's no confidence in men anymore. Men have stopped being men. But listen, if you're a Christian man, you don't have to go down with this ship. I want you to realize what's going on in the Western world. Because the Western world turned away from God, they do not love the truth. Read this for yourself in 2 Thessalonians. I can't remember exactly where, but God will send a deluding influence upon them. And I see it happening right before my very eyes when they don't believe murdering children in the womb is a bad thing. When they think that men can have sex with men even though a man doesn't have a vagina at all. When they think that a man can become a woman or somewhere in between or whatever they want to be, they are under that deluding influence that God has sent upon them. They're under the curse. They're far removed from the truth. Now listen, Christian man, you don't have to go down the same road. You don't have to pack your bags and head away from the truth out into that wilderness of confusion with them. Let them go. Don't think that you have to convince them or argue with them. Let them go. You focus on being a real man. That's all you have to do. Hold fast to the truth. Don't give up on it. Live as a man. Don't live as a feminine Western thingy. But it's not just men. Women. A real woman, as we read in Psalm 31, is virtuous and cares. She is a source of comfort for the home, a place of security, a place of love and nurturing and peace. When I was a kid, I used to feel safe around women. I used to feel I, could be comforted and protected by women. I was a skinny, funny-looking little kid, and I got picked on a lot, and women would look after me, and I always felt safe around them. And now women are more aggressive than men. And that's because, first of all, the deluding influence has come upon them. And second of all, because Western media is training them to usurp men. So instead of a patriarchal system, they're moving into a matriarchal system. Now, I'm not sexist. I'm not arguing that men need to be in control. If you read the Bible and understand the Bible through the leading of the Holy Spirit, a good man lays his own life down for the sake of his family. He's not out there at the bar or playing games or watching football. He works, and that money is for the benefit, first and foremost, of his family and their needs. And he gets the leftovers. That's what love, a man's love for his family looks like. You take care of them first, and you get the leftovers if there's anything left. You don't go and buy yourself expensive toys. You don't go and hang out with the boys at the bar. You take care of your family. You lay your life down for them. That's what God calls us to do. That's the job of a man. The job of a woman, a Christian woman, is to raise her children. Now, I understand the financial pressures of only having one income, but you know what? We cannot raise our children in public schools anymore. If you love your children, pull them out of public school. My children were homeschooled. They went to a private Christian school for a couple of years till I realized that the Christian school was no better than the public school. It was expensive, and the kids there were rich and dressed nice and didn't swear as much, but they were every bit as worldly. Homeschool, if you're Christians, you can't afford to send your children into the world to be trained. Children are open. Children are malleable. Children listen and grow from what you teach them. You don't want your children being trained by wolves, do you? Being told that God is a liar, that we're part monkey. You know what? If we have sex with a monkey, sorry to be vulgar, there won't be a baby because we're not the same kind. Monkeys can breed with monkeys, horses can breed with horses, but there is no interbreeding between the kinds. A dog cannot have sex with a cat and have a baby. God has made those barriers. Mendel's laws kind of explain that. Those barriers are solid. Men and monkeys are in different barriers. But if you read in Genesis 6, men can have sex with angels. The male angels had sex with women and bore children. So that's the kind that we're from. You need to realize that we're not like animals. But kids go into schools and learn that they're just like animals. Except in the animal kingdom, there's only two genders. But humans are different in that respect because that's what the media tells us. Anyways, we have 93 genders. Give me a break. They are under a deluding influence. Their eyes are blind. They're stumbling in darkness and madness. And anyone who goes along is a fool, is an absolute fool. If the light of Christ is in you and you see the truth and yet ignore it, you're a fool, an absolute clam-baked fool. There's no excuse for that. So a Christian man and a Christian woman need to set a Christian example in their Christian home. You lay your lives down for one another. You see, in the world, they think that love is about your feelings. And you get married to have good feelings. And when your spouse doesn't make you feel good anymore, you hate them and you leave them. That's what the world does. God gives us marriage so that we can learn what real love is all about. It's caring for and looking after that person in practical and physical ways, even when they don't deserve it, even when they give you back nothing in return. Love is selfless. Read 1 Corinthians 13. Love is truly denying yourself for the good of others. That's what love is. And God gave us marriage so that we could learn what true love is. I'm going to keep steadfast, committed in this relationship, though I get nothing at all out of it for myself. That's okay. I've died to myself. I continue to do what is right because I've made my vows. I've stood before God. I've made these vows and I'm committed to it. Why don't we look different from the world in this respect? Why don't Christian homes look different from secular homes? You know, if they're going to an eternal damnation for the way they live, how do you think God is going to treat us if we don't live any different? That is a significant and fair question. You will know them by their deeds. How are you living so different from your secular neighbors that they look at you and they see the light of Christ? Very important question. And honestly, Christians need to learn to start cooperating with one another. There's no reason one Christian mom can't open up her home for homeschooling, 4, 6, 8 children who are going to school, and each of the other families pay her for her time so that nobody loses out. They're raised according to God's will and not man's. And they're not going to be. I went to public high school. I want to share that with you. The bullying, the ridicule, the profanity, it's like a prison system. Either you get into a gang or you get beat on all the time. You have to choose your little clique, your group, whatever you closest match up with, and go and pretend to be one of them. And I was so relieved when I got out of public high school to find out that the real world wasn't as cruel, merciless, catty, evil. You know what? Public school is run like a prison. And we need to stop and ask ourselves, what are the children even learning of any value in there? If they come out and they don't understand how to parent, how to pay bills, how to cook meals, how to do a trade of any kind, really, 12 years, and they come out with no practical experience or ability to fend for themselves? Is that the best that we can do? Take your children's future in your own hands. What I did with my children, they were homeschooled, and this is what love looks like. I poured into their lives. I used every opportunity, games and stories and all kinds of things to teach them. Their little minds are open, and between the ages of 1 and 6, that's when you're installing basically the operating system. You have those first 6 years to show them the difference between good and bad. That's it. And from there, they are operating, and you can tweak it, but you can't rewrite it. You don't get a do-over. So the first 6 years are vital, and you really need to be steadfast. With my children, in terms of discipline, they would get 2 slaps on the bottom. And if I said, you're going to get a spank if you do that again, and they did it again, I was 100% consistent, even when it really, really was the very last thing in the world I wanted to do. You know how kids sometimes do that thing again, and then they do something that just makes you laugh your head off. And it's like, okay, everything's good again. No. As happy as I am, and as much as I don't want to discipline you now, you know the rules. And I was 100% consistent with it. There's none of this 1, 2, 2.5, none of that nonsense. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, and your children realize that you say what you mean and you mean what you say. I never yelled at my children. I never struck my children, ever. But they respected me completely. And even when they were goofing off and doing stuff, I would not even raise my voice. I would just say their name, and that would end it right there. And it's not because I was this cruel monster who physically and violently attacked them. Discipline always has to be done out of love. And some of the most heartbreaking times for me were when they were just little guys, 2 and 3 years old, giving them a slap on the bum, and then taking them up in my arms to comfort them and expecting them to push me away, but then being hugged back. And man, oh man, being a parent is the most precious thing in the world if you do it God's way. My children are 17 and 18. The older one will be 19 soon here. They're my best friends. They are 2 young women of God who do not sleep around. They never went through a boy crazy phase. They've never done drugs. They're intelligent. When I'm a very philosophical person, they'll come back to me with their own philosophical thoughts that blow my mind. And I'm like, whoa, you're operating on a level that's starting to challenge me now, and maybe even surpass me. And it's kind of creepy, but at the same time, it's such a thrill. And that is the role of the Christian parent. Pour yourself into their lives, raise them up in the truth. And now my daughters see the madness in the world as I do. So you have a question for yourself, and even if you're the only one and no one else goes with you, will you hold fast to the truth? Cling to what you know to be true and live out in your life the truth? Or will you be swept away in the madness that has overtaken the Western world? As we read in 2 Thessalonians, because they have rejected the truth, God is sending on them right now a deluding influence. Listen, the far left is no longer a political party. In fact, liberals as a whole are no longer a political party. They're barely disguised evil. Full out satanic evil, a force of Satan pushing madness, they are drunk with madness, and they are working for Satan. Republicans, they're not even Christians, they're just middle of the road people. It's time for Christians to step back. Come out from among them, my people. I work in the world, but I'm not a part of it. I refuse to consider myself one with them. I'm like an Israelite living in Egypt right now. It's not my land. They are not my people. And if you live like that, the truth grows in your heart. And the further they go away from the truth, the more you will see the distinction between us and them. This is the time of choosing. You can stand next to Jesus Christ with the truth and let them go their way. Or you can run with them. There are many churches that have absolutely forsaken the truth. and are running with the world. They want to be tolerant. They want to be inclusive. They want to feel like they're good people. And they've left the truth. Bye-bye. On your way, off with you, down to hell. The best we can do is stand right next to Jesus Christ firmly and allow his light to shine through us. And that light will speak against them. Never mind working with them or cooperating or trying to reason with them. They are under a strong influence, a strong delusion. They can't be reasoned with. Except they see the light of Christ and turn around, they will not be saved. God bless you. This is the End Times Guy. Take care.